Story number 1. Penny Ghost. I was into paranormal things from a very young age, so as an 11-year-old girl, I was excited to hear that my sister had an interesting new game for me to play which involved talking to ghosts. My two sisters had always told me stories of ghosts, Ouija boards and poltergeists, but I was not put off talking to them myself, and I practically begged my sister to show me this game. It was quite simple really. All you needed was a penny. You could play by yourself, but it should be played in a team. You have to find a peaceful place so no one can disturb you, and start off by chanting, penny ghost, come to me," and then ask if anyone is there. Heads for yes, tails for no, and flip the coin to reveal the answer. I needed no more instructions. I ran off to find my friend Tasha. I told her briefly about the game, and she too was excited to play. A little background on Tasha and her family. Tasha's mother Deborah used to claim that her mother had the sixth sense, and she also believed that her youngest son had the gift too, as he always described a woman sitting in a rocking chair Deborah claimed was her mum. Her son Gavin had never met his nan. Also, he was only 6. We didn't tell Deborah what we were going to play, as she was a bit over anxious about these sorts of things. We told her we were going to play Barbies upstairs, and that was the end of that, and we ran off to Tasha's room that she shared with her brother. He wouldn't bother us, as his favourite film was on downstairs, and he would be fixated to it. The bedroom wasn't very big, but there was enough room to play on the floor, in between the wardrobe and the bunk beds. Tasha and I sit opposite each other, arm's length apart, coin in between us on the floor. We held hands and began to chant over and over again until we both looked at each other and agreed it was time to ask the question. I, of course, asked the questions. I softly inquired if anyone was there and flipped the coin. Heads. Tasha and I squealed in excitement and asked another question. Are you a boy or a girl? Heads for girl, tails for boy, and flipped the coin. Tails. I asked, were you murdered? Heads for yes, tails for no, and flipped again. Heads. Tasha suggested we ask if he was good or evil, and of course, I agreed. The house was dead silent as I proceeded to ask the question. Are you good or evil? Heads for good, tails for evil. I flipped the coin, and just as it landed completely upright, neither heads nor tails, Tasha's brother burst through the door. Stop it, he doesn't like this game. Stop playing, he's bad, Gavin screaming. Both Tasha and I are forcing Gavin out of the bedroom door. We're all screaming at each other. I'm yelling, be quiet. Tasha's screaming, get out. And Gavin is just repeating himself over and over. Just then, the solid wooden bunk beds just fall right over on top of the wardrobes, causing both of them to crash down onto the floor where both Tasha and I would be sitting if Gavin hadn't come in. We all looked at each other and just started to cry. We ran away hysterically. I wish I could say that this was the end of my penny game days, but it wasn't. I haven't played a game where something thrilling hasn't happened. It is such an exciting game. I don't recommend you play it, as I do believe something has attached itself to me. I've played this game many, many times. No story is as scary as this, though. But I fear it could have been so much worse. I just can't get over how his solid wooden bunk beds just tipped over like they did. There were times when Tasha and I would play hanging off the sides of these things, practically throwing ourselves around, and these things would not budge. It's terrifying.